Hi, welcome back to my video. As mentioned in my last video that I have made enhancement to my program, and I also promised that I will make a upcoming videos that demonstrate those enhancements. So here we are. In this videos, I'll be focusing on the institution tab, and I will go through each of the sub-tabs in detail. And in the process, I'll demonstrate how we can use these sub-tabs to select institutions that met certain criteria or conditions. And this process can be used by, say, the high school graduate looking for colleges. Or the same procedure can also be used by researchers looking for peer institutions. But like I mentioned earlier in my previous video, that it takes more than the profiles to select the peer institutions. But at least this can be a starting point. The data set I'm going to use today, the data set we used in my previous videos, namely the enrollment by age data and the distance education data. And this is just for the sake of familiarity. As you will see that the process can be used on any measures or quantities. Again, if you're not familiar with my program or the data set, it'll help that if you go check out my previous video first. Let's begin with the process, and let's first click on the basic subtabs. And as I mentioned in my previous videos, the most important thing with this basic subtab is to select the years. So let's click the button and then select the year. For this video I picked the 2013. Okay, you can use any years, it doesn't really matter. And I will select the public four-year institutions. I'll just to limit the search to the public four-year institutions. And you can see over here the sector 1 is equal to public 4 years. Okay. And once you select the year, we'll move to the next tab. Okay, as I mentioned earlier, that the data set we're going to look at is the enrollment by age. So let's search for the data. And once you click the button, you'll see it returns a bunch of measures or variables that you can select. And what we do this, I think that's not what I intended to do. Let's empty that and then we do the search. Okay. Over here, that this is the enrollment by age, and for today's purpose, the only thing I'm interested in will be the total, the grand total. So I'll check that and I'll add it to my final list. And as I mentioned earlier, the other data set I'm interested in is the distance education. So let's clear the list and then search for the distance educations. And for distance educations, we'll be looking at exclusive and sum and the total. Okay. In theory, you can select any variable you want, but for simplicity, we'll just select the one we needed. Okay. So again, let me click add to the final button. Okay. So once we select the variable or the measures that we are interested in, we'll move to the variable tab. Okay. And in this tab, it allows user to define the user variables. And you'll get a better sense once we go through some of the process. Okay, let's say we select the institution distance education exclusive. Okay, and it will summarize that for the distance education exclusive, there is another variable, or we call it factors, that can further qualify your distance education exclusive. Let's check the definitions over here. Okay, in this particular case, we'll be only interested in, let's say, the EF for enrollment, the distance education related. Say filter. Okay, and over here you can see the for enrollment distance education, the factor level factors give you some choices, like 3 means the degree certificate seeking total, and the 2 means undergraduate total. And in this particular case, we are only interested in 2. Okay, so we're only interested in the undergraduate total, and we'll give this variable a name. Okay, the education enrollment for enrollment, this education exclusive. Okay, the meaning of this measure is described over here. It is a student enrolled exclusively in the distance digital education courses. Okay, so we'll call this variable simply distance education EXC. Okay, that's for the student that's enrolled exclusive in the distance education courses. But notice that we also check the 2 over here, so that means we only apply to the undergraduate student. So I'll click the button add. So I defined one variable called DEXC. Okay. Now I'm going to define the second variable. So let's drop that and do the for enrollment distance education sum. Okay, again, you can check the definition, but go back to the measure and look at the definition for the sum. Okay, and it's a student enrolled in some, but not all distance education courses. Okay, so again, we're going to do the undergraduate only, and we're going to change a variable name to sum, and we'll click the add. Okay, the third variable we're going to define will be the total. Okay, TOT, and again we're going to do the undergraduate only. Okay, and again, total is defined over here as a total student enrolled. Okay, so this includes not just the distance education students, but also those that's not enrolled in the distance education courses. And let's see, have we added the total yet? No. Okay, let's add the total. Okay. Now we're going to go back to working on the enrollment by age variables. Okay. And again, you can check out the definitions for, okay, in this particular case we like to look at the factor EFBH. Okay. Okay. And for list factors, okay, it's defined the age of the student. And you can also check a definition for the factor L study. Okay, it's the student's levels, and the 2 is the undergraduate student. So we select the 2, and over the age, we're going to select 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. And if you look at definition over here, 3, 4, 5, 6, 3 is under 18, 4 is 18 to 19, 5 is 20 to 21, the 6 22 to 24. So basically you can name these variables. It's from the age data, and it's 24 or less, 24 years old or less. Okay. And you can see that there is a number 2 that basically show the age under 25 total. Okay, and the reason we select the 3, 4, 5, 6 just to demonstrate that we have the flexibility of using more than just the value they already defined. Okay, so at this point let me just click add. Okay, and the next one I'm going to define, I'm still using the undergraduate, but I'm going to select the 7. Okay, I select the 7 only. And if you check out definition, it says 7 is age 25 and above. Okay, and I'll name my variable age data 25 or more. Okay, and I will add that variables. And just for the purpose of comparison, I also defined additional variables and using the 1. And as you can see, 1 over here is all age categories. Okay. So we defined it's an age data and for the purpose of total. I use the TO, let me see, I can use the total, okay. And again, I'll add these variables. Okay. So now if we went to the query tab, query subtab. Okay, and over here, there's a drop down, it shows all the variables you have defined. And over here it says where with the use of variables. So over here you can define the criteria using the variable you have defined. Okay. And in this particular case, okay, I already typed this out, so I'm going to just copy them and put over here. What we have here is that we are looking for the age of 25 or older the percentage of that is greater than 25%. So that means we're looking for institutions that for the undergraduate students, those students with age of 25 or more are greater than 25%. And also, we are looking at an institution that also meet the situation that the student that take any distance educations are about 40%, are greater than 40%. That means we're looking for institutions that for the undergraduate students that taking the percentage of undergraduate students that taking any distance education courses are greater than 40%. Okay. So this is our criteria. Okay. And once you type in your criteria, and you can just click Get Data. Okay. So this will pull out the institution that met those two criteria. And of course, like we mentioned earlier, this process is very general, so ideally you can use any measures. So for example, for a high school graduate student, for the high school graduates, they probably were interested in, say, the ACT is greater than certain scores, or the minority population in the school is under a certain percentage, for examples. Okay, let's click on the Get Data tab. And after you click the Get Data tab, it will return a list of institutions and with the extra information on the number of count. Okay. And you remember earlier I defined a total. From the age data, I defined the total. And I also defined the total from the distance education. Okay, and you can see those numbers are matched. Okay, those under are matched. So this is just a check. Okay, this is just a check. Okay, and you may notice that if you add up the age data, they are not always add up to the total. Okay, and the part of the reason is because there's also an age unknown. Okay, but the thing is this: if we want to calculate the percentage of the age distributions, we can't use the unknown because we don't know their age, and that's why we basically just use the student that with known age to calculate those percentage. Okay, so you can scroll down. It's cover all the United States. Okay, and remember that in the beginning we select the public 4 years only. Okay, in the beginning we select the public 4 years only. Okay, and once you run the query and get the data, you can go to your unit ID tabs, sub-tabs, and click the Get Data tab. Okay, click the Get Data button, and you will know what those institutions are. So for example, in Arizona, there's a Dine College. In California, there's a California State University. And in Nebraska, there's a University of Medical Center, UNMC, and there's a Peru State Colleges. Okay. So I think this is pretty much that's what I'm going to show today. And I like to mention that the process is very general, so you can use any measures, okay, to select the institutions. And also I'd like to remind you that in the value tab, okay, in the case of age data, you see us using the 3, 4, 5, and the 6. So it's basically summarize different data rows, okay, and compare with the static software. You can consider this as a recording process, okay, but we do it in a very intuitive way, and also we do it when we are loading the data. And in the case of the distance education data, we basically select data from one row from different columns. Okay, so with a combination of these two, we can basically select any kind of data in the IPEDS database. Okay, and okay, this is all I have to say today. And again, like I always mention, that if you like the video, if you are interested in the project, please leave a comment or send me a personal email so that I know you are interested. And personally, I have several projects going on at the same time, and I will allocate my time and my resource depend on the interest of my client, okay, or my viewers. Thank you, and see you next time.